At the beginning of the movie, a gruesome scene is shown where a woman is killing her victim in front of a neatly dressed man. The man appears to be thoroughly enjoying the scene and even instructs her to be more brutal as part of her task. He can be seen laughing joyously, as if he has received satisfaction from witnessing such a heinous act. Before giving the woman a suitcase full of money, he orders his bodyguard to take the woman away from the scene. However, it seems that the psychopathic man is not yet satisfied with what he has just witnessed. He now appears to be looking at his phone screen, which displays several famous figures from different professions, and seems very interested in involving them all in the next act. One day, a man wakes up feeling as he finds himself in an unfamiliar bed surrounded by blue walls. He discovers a letter explaining his current location at the funhouse and instructing him to change clothes immediately. This man's name is Casper, an artist who has just been persuaded by his manager to participate in a reality show that is believed to boost his name and popularity, with a grand prize of up to $5 million. After changing his clothes, Casper heads to another room and realizes he is not the only person in the house. He meets several other people who claim to have been kidnapped and drugged before waking up in the funhouse. Eventually, they all got to know each other there. There was Ulala Moore, a social media influencer with 8 million followers who always show her 2 mountains. James Malone, a former MMA fighter. Kat Zim, the youngest female grandmaster chess player in history. Dex, a rapper. Lonnie, also an artist. Nevin, a YouTuber with 10 million subscribers. Jimena, a blogger who often created sensations through her writing. And Casper himself, who was portrayed as a singer. Funhouse also claimed that the event would be broadcast live 24/7 without any commercial breaks. Anyone could participate in the voting every 3 days to determine which participant would make it to the end of the show. In addition, Furcas, a cute panda, explained various rules in the house, including the cleaning and restocking of the participants' necessities. They were also allowed to send messages to their fans for 5 minutes each day. Day after day, all the excitement and thrilling moments were experienced by all participants. Finally, on the 3rd day, the adorable Furcas reappeared to congratulate all the participants who had built good relationships with one another. The panda also revealed the voting results that showed Ulala Moore as the participant with the highest support. Meanwhile, Lonnie and Nevin are the participants with the lowest support, and they had to go to a special room to determine who was worthy of staying in the funhouse, while the other participants were directed to another room to see the challenge that their 2 friends would face. Inside the room, Lonnie was confronted with a panda-shaped piñata and tasked with hitting it with her eyes closed. Of course, it was very enjoyable. Unfortunately, when her eyes were closed, she didn't realize that the piñata had been replaced with Nevin and his mouth was gagged. To make matters worse, the stick she used had also been swapped with one that had many nails on the end. Without realizing it, Lonnie hit Nevin several times with all her might. Eventually, Nevin met God. This event immediately caused all the other participants to revolt, just like the viewers who couldn't believe what they were seeing. From here, it was also revealed that the appearance of Furcas on the screen was actually a psychopathic man who had been shown at the beginning of the film. In a state of mental chaos, all the participants were deeply affected. Even Dex broke one of the windows in the funhouse hoping to escape from there. However, this attempt was easily stopped by a number of masked officers with full weapons who immediately took Dex and punished him in a room. There, Dex was seen tied up on a tank that was then filled with acid. Furcas immediately melted the lower part of his body, causing him to meet God at that moment. The image immediately received a lot of feedback from all over the world, including the police who were having difficulty finding the location of the reality show. However, out of the many people who were uneasy about the show, there were still some who doubted the authenticity of the funhouse. In short, the day of the announcement of the voting results arrived. And this time, the participants with the least amount of support were Jimena and Ulala Moore. They had to face each other in a special room to determine who would survive. The women faced each other armed with large axes, with the goal of attacking each other to determine who could survive the challenge. Unfortunately, the two women fought in a dark room, and ultimately, Ula Lamore surprisingly managed to survive by striking Jimena in the head with her axe. 3 days later, the voting results were announced again. And once again, Ula Lamore was at the bottom of the rankings, which meant she had to go through the challenge again. Despite doing her best to get a high number of votes, from showing her mountain and taking a live shower without any clothes, Ula Lamore found herself in a situation where she had to determine her own fate. She had to choose 2 matching cards from among many cards placed around her. Unfortunately, she failed and was given another chance to determine her fate using a roulette wheel. Unfortunately, Ula Lamore had to die after being punished by having her arms and legs pulled. In the next voting announcement, James received the least amount of support. He had to face a challenge that corresponded to his profession as a fighter. Furcast provided several fighters that could be chosen by all the viewers of the show, who would then become James's opponent. Bodhi's became James's opponent in this challenge. However, the former MMA fighter was able to win the fight after easily defeating Bodhi's. Unfortunately, Furcast seemed dissatisfied with the outcome. Furcast immediately brought down 3 other fighters, making the fight unfair. As a result, James had to die. Only 3 participants remained, leaving Casper, Lonnie, and Kat. Interestingly, Casper and Lonnie, who began talking more intimately, ended up with a beautiful moment together. Kat, who had briefly satisfied her desires by using only her fingers, had the least number of votes. Kat now faced the challenge of playing chess against Furcast through a guard wearing a panda mask. Although she had dominated the game for a while, Kat eventually lost the game of chess. She had to spin the wheel of her fate herself. Fortunately, the spinning wheel stopped right at the pass the buck sign. Unfortunately for Lonnie, she had to replace Kat's position due to the result of the wheel. Casper, who had been in love with Lonnie since being in the funhouse, offered himself to replace her. Furcast granted the request, and this time, Casper had to face the challenge of Pistol at Dawn, where he had to shoot his opponent quickly in front of him. Unfortunately, Casper's opponent was none other than Lonnie herself. In the end, their love for each other made them decide to shoot themselves. Now, only Kat remained as the last participant in the event. Meanwhile, on the other side, a group of police officers were seen heading to a location believed to be the funhouse, but it was too late. They only found a hole with the remains of 5 funhouse participants' head who had died and a bomb wrapped in a panda doll. On the other hand, Kat received money as a prize from the game at the funhouse. She was found by a writer on the Oregon coast. The police had not found anything related to the funhouse. Even the findings of the participants' heads and an object that was thought to be a bomb turned out not to be a bomb, but a decoy server that had confused the cyber police to get the location of the funhouse. Meanwhile, in a TV talk show, Nero Alexander, a young and wealthy entrepreneur, appeared as a guest. It was revealed that he was the one behind the funhouse all along. Not only that, it was also revealed that Kat was Nero's lover, and they seemed to be a psychopathic couple who would create a similar event in the future. And the movie ended.